Chapter 958. Jiang Shanke nodded. I will arrange it. Wan Lin was pleasantly surprised. This was also the strange part about Jiang Shanke. He didn't like people to talk about feelings with him. If he liked someone, he would just say it. If he liked someone, he would just say it. How could people not fall for his boldness and understatement? Sometimes Wan Lin couldn't help but think that Jiang Shanke actually liked her. Otherwise, why would he let her do whatever she wanted? It was just that he didn't know who he really loved. But she only dared to think about it. She didn't dare to show it. Now was not the time. When Jiang Shanke realized that Gong Coco would never appear again, that would be the time for her to show her strength. If she showed her strength now, it would only cause him to be disgusted. After finishing the business, Wan Lin dared to talk about something else. She tried to pick something interesting to talk about. Seeing Jiang Shanke's eyebrows gradually relax, she smiled happily. It was as if she saw that she was one step closer to her goal. With Jiang Shanke's status, any young lady from an aristocratic family was worthy of him. However, she was now the only woman by his side. Just this honor alone made those arrogant young ladies and young masters not dare to offend her. This feeling was really great. The atmosphere of the conversation gradually became lively. Although Wan Lin was the only one talking, it was already rare. At this time, Jiang Shanke's phone rang. Boss. Someone said that they saw Madam. Because the person was too excited, the voice on the other side of the phone was very fast. Jiang Shanke quickly got up and walked out without saying a word. Say it clearly. Where and when? As he spoke, he asked someone to prepare the car. Wan Lin's smile froze. She quickly followed, but was stopped by the assistant. What's wrong? What happened? Seeing that Jiang Shanke had gone far, Wan Lin could only ask the assistant. But the assistant was not a person who had tender feelings for the fairer sex, so he pretended not to hear Wan Lin's words and didn't answer at all. Wan Lin was so angry that she clenched her fists tightly. It had taken her a month to meet Jiang Shanke. She had originally planned to find a way to let the paparazzi take pictures of her and Jiang Shanke together, but it had been completely ruined by a phone call. The only thing that could make Jiang Shanke lose his composure was news about Gong Coco. That damned woman, she still couldn't rest in peace even after death. At this time, Jiang Shanke was already in the car. His whole body was excited. However, he was worried that this time would be the same as before, and that he would rejoice in vain in the end. The person who provided the information was an ordinary citizen in the suburbs of Hadian City. Seeing Jiang Shanke's terrifying eyes, the honest man dared not say a word. He held the fishing rod tightly and avoided Jiang Shanke's eyes. Jiang Shanke's heart sank slightly. The scene in front of him was very likely to be another conspiracy or scam. However, he still held on to the last glimmer of hope and asked coldly. You said you saw my wife. As soon as Jiang Shanke opened his mouth, the suffocating feeling became more and more intense. The moment he opened his mouth, the person who provided the information felt his heart tremble. He lowered his head and nodded quickly, stuttering as he spoke. I don't dare to lie. When I was fishing today, a person suddenly came out of the water and gave me a fright. I recognized her as the person on the missing person notice, so I chased after her. But she disappeared in an instant. He lowered his head, so he didn't notice that Jiang Shanke's eyes were getting brighter and brighter. He had never told anyone that Gong Coco appeared from the water. This man's words made him believe most of it. His heart pounded. It couldn't be so coincidental. Could it be? Could it be? Which direction did she go? Jiang Shanke's voice trembled slightly, but the honest man didn't hear it at all. He pointed in a direction and thought guiltily. Although he didn't find the person, he should be rewarded for providing the information, right? However, Jiang Shanka's aura was too strong. His heart was itching, but he didn't dare to ask. Jiang Shanka suppressed the joy in his heart and said to the person beside him, "Give him 10 million. The bodyguard was a little puzzled. Wasn't the boss afraid that the information he gave was false? Moreover, one sentence was worth 10 million. This person was really lucky. The honest man was already stunned. He stuttered his thanks, but Jiang Shanka was already far away. When someone handed him the check, he thought he was dreaming. Jiang Shanka's eyes were getting brighter and brighter. The chill in his body was decreasing sharply, as if the dark clouds had been broken. As he walked, he gave orders one after another. Tell everyone who's looking for my wife to return to Haidian City and search. She's here. The subordinate didn't dare to object and quickly responded. Increase the reward. If anyone can bring her to me, the reward will be 500 million. If anyone can provide accurate information, the reward will be 10 million. The subordinate's heart trembled and he responded again. The boss was really generous. If anyone could find my wife, they would be rich. Jiang Shanka thought about it and added. Gather all the bodyguards in Haidian City. In this way, if someone found Gong Coco before them, he could still send people to get her back. In short, this time, he wouldn't let Gong Coco leave him. On the surface, Haidian City was still fine. However, it was surging in the dark. People from all sides were mobilized to find a person who was supposed to be dead. Jiang Shanka's subordinates were there to complete their mission, while Jiang Shanka's enemies were there to find someone to threaten Jiang Shanka. Jiang Shanka also thought of this, but he felt that it was fine. After all, those people were only after money. He only wanted her. Gong Coco peeked out from the corner in fear. God knew that she had followed the method provided by her mother and tried many times to come to this time and space. However, she didn't know where the deviation occurred, but she actually came to 3 years later. In other words, Jiang Shanka had 3 years to forget her. Gong Coco wanted to cry but had no tears. However, what was more frightening was that she seemed to have become a wanted criminal. When she appeared, the fisherman's eyes lit up when he saw her. Not only did he run after her, but he also shouted, "Don't run. I'm going to exchange you for a reward." This scared Gong Coco and she ran even faster. After she got rid of the man, she met another group of people. When they saw her, they chased after her again without any explanation. Their fierce expressions were as if she owed them hundreds of millions. Therefore, Gong Coco had no choice but to disguise herself. Only then did she dare to appear on the street and secretly go to Jiang Shanka's company. As she walked, she thought, "It's been so long. Does Jiang Shanka still remember me? Could he have forgotten me? And what about the Wen family? Wen Pingqiu's scheme didn't succeed, right? There were too many variables in 3 years. Moreover, why did she become a wanted criminal? Could it be that Wen Pingqiu did something? Did she frame her?" Sigh. Gong Coco sighed. Looking at the luxurious building in front of her, she felt a sense of homesickness. Chapter 959. However, before she could enter, she saw Jiang Shanka walking out. Gong Coco was pleasantly surprised. She wanted to give him a warm hug and tell him that she was back. However, before she could move, she saw a woman running out. She smiled and said something to Jiang Shanka. Then, she followed him into the car. The smile on Gong Coco's face froze. She was in a very secluded spot. There were a few paparazzi hiding nearby. When they saw the scene in front of them, they started snapping pictures. "We finally got them. I knew that CEO Jiang and Wan Lin had a close relationship. In the past few years, other than Wan Lin, no other woman could get close to CEO Jiang. What are they doing so late at night? Don't tell me they went home. Another person quickly said, follow them, follow them. This will definitely be tomorrow's headline. For the first time, Gong Coco hated herself for being able to hear their conversation clearly. Tears blurred her eyes. She tried not to make a sound, but big drops of tears still fell. During the 3 months in Dayu State, she thought about how to return to Jiangshanka every day. However, reality played a cruel joke on her. She came here 3 years later. 3 years could change a lot of things. However, she couldn't accept it. She didn't believe that their relationship only had a shelf life of 3 years. She wiped away her tears and decided to continue observing to see if Jiang Shanka really had a change of heart. In the limousine, Jiang Shanka asked coldly, "Did your friend really see Coco yesterday?" Wan Lin hated him in her heart, but she had to keep a smile on her face. "Yes, he and his friends saw her, take me to them." After Jiang Shanka finished speaking, he closed his eyes to rest. However, Wan Lin felt as if her heart was being bitten by thousands of ants. Gong Coco was still alive. She didn't believe it at first, but her friend told her that it was true. He just didn't know why Gong Coco didn't show up. Wan Lin prayed in her heart that Gong Coco had lost her memory, or that it was not Gong Coco at all, but a very similar person. However, the panic in her heart was getting bigger and bigger. She had been operating for 3 years, carefully approaching him, but she had been defeated in a single exchange. Gong Coco followed them in secret. She wanted to see if Jiang Shanka had a change of heart. Her qigong was activated to the extreme. Her lungs were burning, but her eyes were focused in front of her. At this moment, the car stopped, and she quickly hid. Then she saw Jiang Shanka come down first. After he came down, the woman named Wan Lin also came down. But she suddenly threw herself into Jiang Shanka's arms. Jiang Shanka subconsciously caught the woman who provided the clue. But from Gong Coco's angle, it looked like they were kissing. At this moment, Gong Coco's heart was completely cold. She no longer had the courage to follow. The two of them were so intimate outside. It was obvious that their relationship was not ordinary. Then what was she? She had racked her brains to come here. She had abandoned her brother and Uncle Chio to come to this space-time. Why? Tears blurred her eyes. Gong Coco cried as she walked. Walking on the road, she felt sad. She liked Jiang Shanka so much, but Jiang Shanka fell in love with someone else after 3 years. She felt terrible. If they were in each other's shoes, she would never have a change of heart. No. She would never have a change of heart. Jiang Shanka was a big bastard. Gong Coco cursed, but it started to rain. It was as if the heavens were laughing at her. Gong Coco experienced a lot of ups and downs. Her chest felt stuffy, and she was drenched all the way. This time, she still brought some things with her. Yesterday, she pawned a pair of earrings so that she would not end up on the streets. However, because she did not have an identification card, she could only stay in a very rundown hotel. When she stayed here last night, she was still full of joy. She did not think that it was run down at all. She was thinking that she would see Jiang Shanka tomorrow. She was so excited that she did not sleep for half the night. She wanted to give him a surprise. Instead, she was surprised. She returned to her room, drenched. Looking at the small house that was filled with a moldy and damp smell, she could not help but feel sad. She leaned against the door and sat on the floor. In Dayu State, her brother would give her the best of everything. However, she had stubbornly come here. The person she had chosen had taken a fancy to someone else. She could not go back. If she lost Jiang Shanke, she would lose everything. Gong Coco held the necklace Jiang Shanke gave her and cried silently for a long time. She wanted to throw it away, but she felt that she should not have come and left so quietly. She wanted to cause trouble for Jiang Shanke. Therefore, she decided that she would throw the necklace at Jiang Shanke's face tomorrow and tell him that she did not like him anymore. With this thought, Gong Coco cried again. She curled up into a small ball, and the coldness spread to her heart. The next day, she had a fever as expected. The owner of the shop was a kind-hearted auntie. She was a little worried when she saw that Gong Coco was all alone. When she came back last night, she was even more distracted. However, Gong Coco did not move at all the next day. She went up to check on her and realized that Gong Coco was sick. She hurriedly changed her clothes and gave her medicine. Only then did Gong Coco's fever stabilize. However, perhaps because her mood was too bad, Gong Kiki, who had always been healthy, fell sick repeatedly for 5 to 6 days and didn't recover. She could not wait any longer. She gave the owner some money and asked her to make a trip to return the necklace to Jiang Shanke. She had been waking up from her dreams for the past few days. She had thought it through. Instead of feeling terrible, it was better to talk things out face to face. If Jiang Shanke did not come after returning the necklace, Gong Coco stared at the ceiling. If he did not come, then so be it. However, what she did not know was that her illness had driven the entire Haitian city crazy. Jiang Shanke's face darkened day by day. From the day he found out about Coco's appearance, Jiang Shanke had sent people to all the docks, train stations, airports, bus stations, and other places. The number of people searching the city reached tens of thousands. Not to mention the other forces, under such circumstances, there was no news of Coco at all. There were only 2 explanations. 1. Coco was in danger. 2. Coco was caught by someone else. Jiang Shanke hurriedly ordered his subordinates to ask around to see if they had any news. At this time, Jiang Shanke was having a meeting on the top floor of the company. However, halfway through the meeting, he suddenly stood up, took his coat, and left. Everyone in the meeting room was in danger, especially the young man who was explaining the proposal. He was so scared that his face turned pale. He thought that he had said something wrong and angered the boss. At this time, the chief secretary comforted him. Don't be afraid. The boss is not unhappy with you. He has other urgent matters. Everyone understood that the only person who could make the boss treat it as an urgent matter was the president's wife. Chapter 960. Jiang Shanke suddenly remembered that he hadn't returned to the Jiang family mansion for a long time. Could Kiki have already gone back? The moment this thought appeared, he couldn't control himself anymore. He left halfway through the meeting. He got the driver to stand by as he walked out of the elevator. When he came out, he realized that the front desk was very noisy. This was the first time that anyone from the Jiang group had ever dared to cause trouble. However, he didn't intend to care. After all, someone would come to settle it soon. However, in the midst of the chaos, he seemed to hear someone calling his name. Auntie Zheng was a very shrewd person. Otherwise, she wouldn't have opened a hotel with her own efforts after her divorce. Today, that young lady had given her 1 million yuan to do something for her. 1 million yuan was equivalent to 10 years of her savings. Therefore, no matter what, she had to do what the young lady said, even if Jiang Shanke was the emperor. She had to see him today. I'm really Jiang Shanke's relative. Why? Can't the rich have poor relatives? I'm here to look for him for something very important. The receptionist was in a difficult position. The security guards even dragged Auntie Zheng out. I'm telling you, I really have something very important to tell Jiang Shanka. He'll regret it if he doesn't listen. Seeing that she was about to be dragged out, Auntie Jing realized that it was useless to make a scene. Look! A big company is bullying a small commoner. What's going on? A cold voice was heard, and the large front hall quieted down. Everyone parted to the sides, and Jiang Shanka strode in. Auntie Jing didn't know who Jiang Shanka was at first. She only felt that the name sounded familiar. Who knew that when she came here and said the 3 words Jiang Shanka, she would be treated very seriously? They wanted her to say something. When she said that she wanted to give something to Jiang Shanka, those people even called for bodyguards to surround her. It was as if she was going to take out a weapon that would endanger society. Now that she saw Jiang Shanka in person, Auntie Jing immediately remembered who Jiang Shanka was. Wasn't this the man who often appeared on TV? He looked even better in person than on TV. When Aunt Jing watched TV, she would say that God was really biased. So many good points were all gathered on one person. But when she saw the real person, she felt that this person was God's favored one. She quickly broke away from the bodyguards and ran toward Jiang Shanka. The bodyguards wanted to stop her, but Jiang Shanka stopped them with a look. Are you Jiang Shanka? Aunt Jing was no longer as shrewish as before. At this time, she looked at Jiang Shanka with a smile, just like a mother-in-law looking at her son-in-law. She knew that the little girl was not an ordinary person, but it turned out that the people she knew were even more extraordinary. Jiang Shanka glanced at her, which made Aunt Jing's smiling face stiffen, and she suddenly shrank her neck. This person's gaze was so terrifying that she actually subconsciously stopped 3 steps away from him, not daring to get any closer. I'm Jiang Shanka. What can I do for you? He shouldn't have wasted time in such a place, but there was a hidden expectation in his heart that if he didn't stop, he would definitely regret it. With this strange thought, he scanned the other party from head to toe, trying to see Keek's shadow in this ordinary woman. His scrutiny made Aunt Jing feel even more weak. She suddenly regretted it. It would be fine if that little girl was related to Jiang Shanka, but what if they had a grudge? Then wouldn't she have offended a big shot? She wanted to leave at this thought, but under Jiang Shanka's increasingly cold gaze, she knew that she couldn't leave if she didn't give a reason. She stuttered as she took a gamble. I came to find you because there's a girl who wants me to give this to you. Jiang Shanka subconsciously looked at her open palm, and his pupils suddenly shrank. The air seemed to freeze. No one dared to speak and looked at Jiang Shanka. Jiang Shanka stared at the necklace, and for a moment, he almost didn't dare to take it. He reached out, and his fingertips couldn't help but tremble. The moment he touched the necklace, his fingers suddenly retracted, and then he held the necklace tightly in his palm. It's her. It's Keek's necklace. She came to find me. At that moment, Jiang Shanka almost cried tears of joy. But why didn't Kiki come by herself? Could it be that she was injured? When this terrifying thought appeared, his whole body seemed to freeze. He suddenly grabbed Aunt Jing's shoulders tightly, as if afraid that she would run away. Where is she? Where's the girl who gave you the necklace? Aunt Jing was almost strangled to death by the agitated Jiang Shanka. She quickly said, she's in my hotel. The next second, she was dragged out by Jiang Shanka. Jiang Shanka's expression was very scary, as if a storm was brewing. Aunt Jing was almost scared to death, but at this moment, she had no strength to resist at all. Her fat body was effortlessly dragged by Jiang Shanka, and the assistant's heart was pounding. It seemed like it was real today. Madam was coming back. But what Jiang Shanka didn't know was that someone was one step faster than him. At this moment, a group of uninvited guests suddenly barged into Aunt Jing's hotel. For the 1 million yuan, Enchanting didn't open the door today, but that group of people directly broke in and ran to the second floor. Gong Coco heard a series of footsteps in her drowsy state. She originally thought that Jiang Shanke had come, and was delighted. But when she looked at her weak body, she decided to be safe. She gritted her teeth and hid. Then, someone kicked the door open. It wasn't Jiang Shanke. Moreover, this group of people looked murderous, as if they were here for revenge. They were coming straight for her, and their target was obviously her. Gong Coco touched her face, feeling sad. She had disguised herself, and she had fallen ill after only a day. She had been sick for 5 to 6 days, and the only person she had been in contact with was the boss of the restaurant. The only person she had been in contact with was Jiang Shanke. Although she didn't want to believe it, the truth was right in front of her. Other than Jiang Shanke, who else would send people? Jiang Shanke didn't come himself, but sent people to kill her. Wan Lin sat in the car with her heart pounding. She had just come to Jiang Shanke, planning to use Gong Coco as an excuse to meet Jiang Shanke. But the moment she entered, she heard Aunt Zhang's shouts. Her woman's sixth sense told her that Gong Coco wanted to meet Jiang Shanke. Therefore, she made a prompt decision and called her friend. She found out the location of that aunt's house and made a move first. She knew that she would be doomed if she did that. But she couldn't control herself. Once she thought of Gong Coco's appearance, she wouldn't have another chance. She couldn't accept this outcome. It would be great if Gong Coco died. Therefore, in order to stop Jiang Shanke's footsteps, she even got people to cause a car accident on the road. There were many people in Haitian City, enough to block Jiang Shanke's car in the city. Chapter 961. Jiang Shanke wouldn't have chosen to take the car if it wasn't for the fact that he had to wait a few minutes for the plane to arrive. He couldn't wait a second longer. He had to see Gong Coco now. Hence, when the car was stuck in a traffic jam, Jiang Shanke looked at the two people arguing in front of him and felt annoyed. Knock them over. What? The driver was anxious. When he heard Jiang Shanke's words, he asked subconsciously. Jiang Shanke had already started making calls. Use your car to knock them away. I'm going over now. He was referring to the car that was following Jiang Shanke. Every time he went out, there would be a few cars. When the driver behind heard the order, he didn't say anything and rammed into the cars that were blocking the road in front of him. The people who were arguing were shocked and quickly moved aside. Then, their car was knocked away by 2 black cars. The collision wasn't enough. The 2 cars backed up and rammed into each other again. Finally, a gap big enough for a car to pass through was created. After Jiang Shanke passed through, he sensed something and called his most ruthless subordinate. Li Xiu, bring someone to Haitian West City, Liqin Road, number 534, Madame Zhang's hotel. Madame is there. I want you to go over first. No matter what, you have to ensure Madame's safety. Originally, Jiang Shanke wanted Gong Coco to be the first to see him. On the way here, he had asked around. The girl in Madame Zhang's hotel looked nothing like Gong Coco. The only explanation was that she was in disguise. Hence, he wasn't worried that someone would snatch her away from him. However, the car accident just now made him suspicious. Hence, he had to make such arrangements to ensure Coco's safety. The dozen people who barged into the room didn't see Gong Coco. The leader touched the blanket. It's still warm. She must have just left or is still in this room. Gong Coco, who was hiding in the wardrobe, held a dagger in her hand. Although she was seriously ill, she wouldn't be bullied by these people. Soon, someone reached out to the wardrobe. Gong Coco swung the dagger and cut off 3 of the person's fingers. The scream was like a signal. The others quickly took out their guns and aimed at Gong Coco. After a series of intense gunshots, Gong Coco threw away the man who was shot into a sieve, grabbed the last person and asked coldly, "Who sent you?" That person was already scared silly by Gong Coco's strange martial arts, but he did not forget his mission and stuttered. "It's Jiang Shanka. Jiang Shanka asked us to come." Hearing the expected answer, Gong Coco suddenly felt powerless. She could no longer hold on. Her feet swayed, but the other party seized the opportunity to kick her down. The man pointed his gun at Gong Coco and sneered. "If you want to blame someone, blame yourself. Why did you come back? Die." After he finished speaking, he grinned and opened fire. In the end, the gunshot rang out. Gong Coco was fine, but the man fell down weakly. Behind him was a very cold-looking man. His gun was smoking. Although she was saved, Gong Coco did not feel happy at all. Her heart was already dead, crippled, and riddled with holes. She could no longer feel any life. Gong Coco fell weakly on the bed. At the last moment, she was still thinking. That person was right. She should not have come back, so painful, her heart was in so much pain. Li Xiao saw Gong Coco fall on the bed clutching her chest and panicked. Fortunately, he arrived in time. Otherwise, he did not dare to imagine the terrible consequences of this woman's death. Li Xiao carried Gong Coco to the bed. As he got someone to clean up the body, he quickly called the doctor over. He saw that Gong Coco's face was completely different from the one in the photo. He was puzzled. But after taking a closer look, he finally found a flaw in her hair and slowly tore it open. The last trace of doubt disappeared. He let out a long sigh of relief. He had guessed right. It was indeed her. If this woman had died, the entire Hadean city would have been bathed in blood. When Jiang Shanka arrived, this was the scene he saw. Gong Coco was lying on the bed with a pale face. There was still the smell of urine in the air. The body had been cleaned up, but there were bloodstains and bullet holes everywhere. There was also blood on the quilt. Gong Coco was in the middle of it. It was as if she was dead. His great hope and happiness were all destroyed by the scene in front of him. The closer he got, the gloomier his face became. Li Xiao quickly moved aside. Jiang Shanka sat by the bed and squeezed out a few words from between his teeth. "Who did this?" He reached out and touched Gong Coco's face. After feeling a pulse under her ear, he let out a long sigh of relief. "Where's the doctor? Why isn't he here yet?" Li Xiao stood at the side and said with his head lowered, "The doctor will be here soon. There are 11 dead people. They are all from the Qing gang." Qing. Jiang Shanka's eyes were bloodthirsty. The corners of his lips curled up. From tomorrow onwards, there will be no more Qing, only Blood City. Did this mean that they were all wiped out? Li Xiao nodded, "I understand. I'll go now." After that, Li Xiao left with his men, leaving this space for the man and woman who had been separated for a long time. Jiang Shanka looked around the room. It was dark and damp. Coco had enjoyed the life of a real princess in that world. But she still came back. She gave up everything to come back, just to be with him. But he did not protect her well. Not only did he let her fall sick, but he also let her suffer in such a place. He almost let someone hurt her. This was all his fault. Jiang Shanka sighed. He lowered his head and planted a kiss on Gong Coco's forehead. "Why did you come to find me so late? Did someone do something to you? Tell me. I'll listen to you, as long as you tell me." When the doctor came, He shook his head and said that Gong Coco's condition was not good. First, she had a fever. Then, she repeatedly injured her foundation. Today, she was almost assassinated. To her body, it was simply adding injuries on top of injuries. More importantly, she had a knot in her heart. It hurt her body and liver. It would take a long time for her to recover. Jiang Shanke could not believe it. Gong Coco had only been here for a few days and her body had changed. He did not protect her well. It was his fault. If they were in Daiyu state, her brother emperor would never let her suffer like this. Investigate. Tomorrow, I must find out who the mastermind is. I want him to regret being born into this world. Jiang Shanke's anger shook the entire Haidian city. All the forces were terrified. They were afraid that this fire would burn them. They heard that Jiang Shanke's wife had finally been found, but she had been plotted against. They did not know who had the guts to even touch Jiang Shanke's precious baby. Wan Lin was even more frightened. Especially when she lost contact with her friend. His subordinates called her and said that their boss was dead. They were now going abroad because Jiang Shanke had ordered people to destroy the entire Qingqing gang. As long as they were not dead, they had all escaped. Chapter 962. Wan Lin's phone smashed onto the floor. She had guessed that Jiang Shanke hadn't let go of Gong Coco, but she didn't expect him to care so much about Gong Coco. He had destroyed a gang with thousands of people for her. What was she going to do now? Would Jiang Shanke find out that she was the one who ordered it? No way, no way. That person was already dead. They couldn't possibly know who the mastermind was. Wan Lin hid at home, hoping that she wouldn't be found out. Gong Coco clutched the blanket tightly and wouldn't move. She would cry if she moved. Jiang Shanke had no choice but to move the entire medical team over to treat her. After a few injections, Gong Coco slowly woke up. Jiang Shanke happily grabbed her hand and spoke in the softest voice. "You're awake." Gong Coco saw that it was him and hurriedly pulled her hand away. She said coldly, "What are you doing here?" Jiang Shanke was stunned. She should be very excited to meet again after such a long time. Why was Keek's expression so cold? Gong Coco turned her head to the side and sneered. "You're with someone else. I gave you the keepsake, but you sent someone to kill me." "Very well, Jiang Shanke. Just treat it as if I was blind before. Let's end things here." Her face became increasingly weak in the dim room. Under the ceiling covered in mold, a girl with a transparent face like a glass doll was so out of place. She looked so pitiful and fragile. Jiang Shanke was already stunned. He couldn't hear anything except the last sentence. "You want to end all ties with me?" His chest felt stuffy and he almost spat out blood. Gong Coco nodded. "Please leave now. I don't want to see you again." She closed her eyes. God knew that the moment she saw him, she wanted to tell him how wrong she was. But she couldn't. She couldn't show her weak side to this person anymore. "Kiki, listen to me." "I'm not listening." Gong Coco suddenly sat up and glared at Jiang Shanke with bloodshot eyes. "Don't try to trick me. Leave now. If you don't leave, I'll kill you." As she spoke, she suddenly took out a hairpin from her bosom and placed it on Jiang Shanke's neck. Jiang Shanke saw that she was emotional and did not listen to his words at all. His eyes gradually turned red. He stared at Gong Coco. "If you want to kill me, then kill me." He pointed the tip of the hairpin at his Achilles heel. "Stab down from here." Gong Coco's hand suddenly loosened, and the hairpin fell on the bed. "You only know how to bully me." Gong Coco covered her face and complained. Tears flowed out from between her fingers. Her crying made Jiang Shanka's heart ache. He finally hugged Gong Coco in his arms. Gong Coco was naturally unwilling and violently resisted. However, Jiang Shanka was surprisingly strong. Gong Coco couldn't break free. Kiki. 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 He called Gong Coco's name over and over again. Gong Coco gradually calmed down, but she felt even more upset. It was as if there was a hole in her chest that couldn't be filled even if Jiang Shanka hugged her. Did you misunderstand something? Misunderstanding? Gong Coco sneered. You hugged and kissed that Wanlin, and you're saying that I'm misunderstanding something. The more she spoke, the more upset she felt. I didn't expect that your feelings for me would only last for 3 years. Jiang Shanka, you really disappoint me. Jiang Shanka felt even more wronged than Do-yi. However, seeing how angry Gong Coco was, he could only lower his voice to defend himself. Kiki, you're definitely mistaken. Other than you, I've never kissed another woman. I swear on my life. He rolled his eyes and realized why Gong Coco had misunderstood. He quickly said, You came to find me a few days ago. Wanlin said that her friend had seen you that day, so I let her get into my car. When she got out of the car, she sprained her ankle. I subconsciously caught her. I didn't kiss her. He even emphasized, I've always kept a distance from her. Not only her, but all the other women I've kept a respectful distance from. For the past 3 years, I've been looking for you, only you. I don't want anyone else. Although Gong Kiki felt that she couldn't believe his one-sided story, she believed most of it the moment he opened his mouth. She suddenly snorted. You don't know. The person who came to kill me said that you were the one who gave the order. My appearance was in your way, so you wanted me dead. Nonsense. Jiang Shanka lifted Gong Kiki's tear-stained face and said word by word, I couldn't have sent someone to kill you. I came here as soon as I received your news. There were people blocking my way and I was afraid that something would happen to you, so I sent someone to save you. How could I kill you? Gong Coco pursed her lips. She seemed to be conflicted about whether she should believe him or not. She was saved by a man. Could it be that the person who saved her was Jiang Shanka's man? Jiang Shanka sighed. What kind of blunder was this? He almost turned Haitian City upside down to find her. However, Kiki misunderstood him again and again. It was all because of those damned people. They even dared to frame him as the one who gave the order. It seemed that the person who did it was someone they knew. He said seriously, time will reveal a person's heart. You can doubt my sincerity now, but I'll make you believe it. Kiki. It's my fault that something like this happened when you came back. I'll protect you from now on. He suddenly buried his head in Gong Coco's ear and said in a muffled voice. Kiki. I've missed you so much. His words contained a lot of emotions. Gong Coco trembled as Jiang Shanka hugged her tightly. The missing piece seemed to be slowly mending. It was that simple. She spent so much effort to transmigrate here for this man. Gong Coco closed her eyes. The next day, Li Xiu handed over the information of the mastermind to Jiang Shanka. This matter touched Jiang Shanka's bottom line, so no one dared to take it lightly. Jiang Shanka sneered when he saw it. It really was her. Wanlin, you've got guts. Jiang Shanka was furious. He thought that he treated Wanlin very well. Because of her face, he had done everything he could for her. Why did she do this? Li Xiu asked, Boss, what do you want me to do? Jiang Shanka hated Wanlin, but when he thought about how she caused Kiki to misunderstand him, he felt that he couldn't just deal with her like this. You don't have to worry about this. She made my wife unhappy, so let her deal with her. Yes, boss. After dealing with these matters, Jiang Shanke hurried back to his room. Keek's body was still very weak, so he naturally wouldn't let others take care of her. When he entered, Gong Coco was eating porridge. When she saw Jiang Shanke, she snorted and turned her head away, indicating that she didn't want to see him. In fact, Gong Coco was most upset about that night when she saw Jiang Shanke and Wan Lin kissing. That was the most uncomfortable thing for her, so even when Jiang Shanke explained, she still refused to acknowledge him. Chapter 963. Why? Are you still angry with me? Jiang Shanke asked with a smile. His expression was surprisingly gentle. The dark clouds that had accumulated before had disappeared the moment Gong Coco appeared. At this moment, he was full of smiles and joy from the bottom of his heart. Gong Coco saw him smile and her heart softened. However, before the truth was clear, she couldn't be charmed by Jiang Shanke. You said that I wronged you, but one night has passed. Where's the evidence? She admitted that she was a little unreasonable, but she couldn't wait for a moment. Jiang Shanke placed the evidence in front of Gong Coco one by one. There was Wan Lin's life story, call records, and when Auntie Jing came to the Jiang Corporation to cause trouble, the camera caught Wan Lin coming to the company, but she suddenly changed her expression and left. Gong Coco flipped through them one by one, and her expression was very ugly. This Wan Lin is the woman you found after I disappeared. Jiang Shanke quickly raised his hands. Coco, I haven't touched a woman in the past 3 years. She looked like my dead sister, Wan, so I took care of her occasionally. I didn't mean anything else. As he spoke, his expression became gloomy. I just didn't expect her to repay me for my kindness. She's really greedy. What's there to not expect? Gong Coco said sourly. She obviously likes you, and that's why she did this to me. You said that there's nothing between you and her, but in the eyes of outsiders, you're a couple. It's obvious that you treat her very well. She's special to you. Gong Coco thought of the two paparazzi's words and felt more wronged. Seeing Gong Coco sad, Jiang Shanke couldn't sit still. He ignored Gong Coco's wishes again and forcefully carried her into his arms. What others say is false. His eyes flashed coldly. Don't worry, I'll make those people shut up. I just didn't care before, but now that I have you, you can do whatever you want. Gong Coco pursed her lips and said awkwardly, I'm just afraid that someone will feel bad if I really do it. Jiang Shanke couldn't help but laugh. What a stubborn little thing. Who cares? I'll help you destroy him. You're Jiang Shanke's wife. You have the right to do whatever you want with any of my women. If you want to kill someone, I'll give you a knife. If you want to set a fire, I'll add wood to it. As long as you don't get angry and hurt your body. He had a glib tongue, and Gong Coco was gradually unable to withstand him. She gave a soft hum and glared at him. All right then. Don't get involved in this matter. Just pretend that you don't know anything. I'll deal with her myself, ruthlessly. She emphasized the word ruthlessly. Then, she carefully looked at Jiang Shanke's expression. Seeing that his expression was calm and without a trace of hesitation, Gong Coco felt much better. All right, ruthlessly. Jiang Shanke smiled and coaxed her. Continue eating. My heart will ache if you're starving. As he spoke, he came over to feed her. Gong Coco rejected him and buried her head in the food. Jiang Shanke didn't mind being rejected. He was already very satisfied to be able to hug her. Now, as he watched her eat mouthful by mouthful, her little red mouth opening and closing, he actually felt hungry too. Can you give me a bite? Jiang Shanka's flirtatious voice rang in her ears. Gong Coco shrunk her neck and hesitated for a moment. She still trembled as she picked up a piece of tofu and brought it to Jiang Shanka's mouth. Jiang Shanka lowered his head and sucked it. This was the first time he felt that tofu was so delicious. In the past few years, no matter how many exquisite delicacies there were, they all paled in comparison to him. He couldn't even remember if he had eaten anything in the past few years. Seeing that Gong Coco's cheeks were puffed up, Jiang Shanka laughed inwardly. More. Gong Kiki furrowed her brows, but still picked up a piece of fish for him. Just like that, the two of them took a bite and shared their lunch. In the end, Jiang Shanka said as if he hadn't had enough. I want to eat tofu. Gong Coco's chopsticks were empty. There's no more tofu. There is. Jiang Shanka suddenly lowered his head and kissed Gong Coco's lips. It was soft and tender in his mouth. Wasn't this the most delicious tofu? Gong Coco was shocked and quickly struggled. After all, they had been separated for a long time. Moreover, they had experienced such a thing when they first met. In her heart, she was still a little resistant to Jiang Shanka's closeness. And Jiang Shanka was also very unfamiliar with it. However, as long as he touched her, he gradually became skilled. His kissing technique returned to its former peak. Gong Coco was kissed until she was dizzy. She sat in his embrace, her small hands powerlessly supporting her as she made a final stubborn resistance. It shouldn't be like this, but once he was so close to her, Gong Coco felt her entire body tremble. They had been separated for too long. Once they touched, she actually felt a sense of emptiness. She hoped that he would continue to kiss her, the deeper the better. Jiang Shanka also did as she wished. He didn't know when to stop. Both of their bodies were burning. Gong Coco gradually felt that she couldn't breathe. She could only passively let him lead her into the dance. After the kiss, Gong Coco's face turned red. She couldn't be tough anymore. Jiang Shanka saw her like this and laughed. It's been 3 years. Why are you still so shy? Gong Coco covered her face with her hands. Her sleeve slid down, revealing the chastity mark. When Jiang Shanka saw it, he was first happy. Then, he revealed a complicated expression. His finger touched the red veil and faintly said, "Do you know what I regretted the most after you went missing?" Gong Coco shook her head. Jiang Shanka smiled and lowered his head to whisper in her ear. I regretted that I didn't eat you up after being married for so long. His expression gradually turned cold, with a trace of pain and helplessness. I guessed that you had gone back, but I didn't know how to find you. The more time passed, the more I was afraid that you would forget about me. Every time I thought about it, I couldn't wait to be with you. I heard that in ancient times, when a woman lost her chastity, she could only marry that man. In that case, you could only marry me. Isn't this thought very selfish? Gong Coco deeply felt it. It wasn't selfish, because she thought so too. She finally couldn't maintain her cold face. She looked up at him and said, So, there's really nothing between you and Wanlin? Jiang Shanka nodded resolutely. There's nothing between us. Gong Coco smiled in satisfaction. But in the next moment, she became serious again. Okay. I'll test you. Seeing that Gong Coco believed him, Jiang Shanka's eyes lit up. Then tonight, Gong Coco instantly understood. She glared at Jiang Shanka. Why was this person so eager? They had just met, and she wasn't ready yet. So she turned her head and said proudly, You want to sleep with me when you haven't completely cleared your suspicion? Humph, no way. Jiang Shanka greedily took in the scent of her body and smiled naughtily. Who said I wanted to sleep with you? A sly look flashed in his eyes. Can't I hug you to sleep? Chapter 964. Realizing that she had misunderstood, Gong Coco glared at Jiang Shanke angrily. It was all his fault for saying those suggestive words, which made her think the wrong way. No, no, no. Get out and sleep in separate rooms. Upon hearing this, Jiang Shanke's expression darkened. Although there was a smile on his face, there was an indescribable bitterness. For the past 3 years, I've been looking forward to meeting you again. Now that you've misunderstood me, it's okay. Time will explain everything. But I can't even get close to you. Kiki, you're torturing me. She bit her lower lip. Seeing Jiang Shanke's sad expression, her heart that had hardened with much difficulty began to soften. However, Jiang Shanke placed her on the bed and stood up. But it's okay. I've waited for so many years. A few more days won't make a difference, Kiki. He looked at Gong Coco gently, but it was impossible to ignore the sadness in his eyes. No matter what, don't leave me again, okay? Without you, I'm in pain every day. Even though Jiang Shanke's voice was soft, it was heavy in Gong Coco's ears. Gong Coco could no longer bear to see him sad and suddenly said, Enough. If you want to stay, then stay. Jiang Shanke's eyes lit up instantly. Gong Coco was frightened by his passionate gaze and quickly drew a line on the bed. But we'll sleep separately. You're not allowed to cross the line. Jiang Shanke naturally smiled and agreed. Okay, Kiki, wait for me. I'll wash up and come back. His unfinished words had a hint of ambiguity, causing Gong Coco's cheeks to burn red. She lowered her head and didn't dare to look at him. Suddenly, she hoped that he would come back later. However, no matter how late he would still come. After washing up, the two of them lay on the bed. Gong Coco's entire body was tense. Rationally, she didn't want anything to happen between her and Jiang Shanke right now. After all, there were still some things that she hadn't figured out yet. However, because she had subconsciously trusted Jiang Shanke, her body faintly developed a desire for his body under the blanket. Especially after Jiang Shanke turned off the lights, she heard Jiang Shanke's slightly quickened breathing. Gong Coco felt her own breathing quicken as well, and her body became hotter and hotter. She was a little confused. Should she hope that Jiang Shanke would not cross the line, or should she just throw herself at him? Gong Coco patted her flushed face, glad that Jiang Shanke couldn't see her embarrassment. Can't sleep. Jiang Shanke suddenly turned to look at Gong Coco. His bright eyes were still shining even after the lights were turned off. Gong Coco shrank into the blanket. No, I'm going to sleep. Jiang Shanke chuckled. That mellow cello-like voice was even more irritating. He suddenly reached out and touched Gong Coco's ear. Coco, your ear is so hot. Your face must be very red right now. Gong Coco was shocked and hurriedly slapped his hand. You're so annoying. You've crossed the line. Is that so? Jiang Shanke laughed. He suddenly rolled in a circle and accurately hugged Gong Coco in his arms. The moment they touched, both of them felt the heat in each other's bodies. The moment Gong Coco's tense body was hugged by him, she felt like she had been electrocuted and wanted to retreat. Her cherry lips inadvertently let out a light moan. The faint trembling sound at the end made Jiang Shanke's eyes suddenly ignite with two flames. He directly pressed Gong Coco under his body. His hot and firm part was aimed at the woman he loved. Because she was too sensitive, the moment he pressed against her, Gong Coco subconsciously clamped her legs together. In the end, both of them let out a muffled groan. The air was silent for a moment. Then, the man and woman who were looking at each other in the dark suddenly became entangled. Their lips were tightly pressed together. It wasn't clear if Gong Coco kissed Jiang Shanka first or if Jiang Shanka kissed her first. In any case, it was so inseparable and so passionate that even the air seemed to be burning. Coco. Coco. During the process, Jiang Shanka couldn't help but call out her name again and again. Gong Coco was aroused by his voice until her entire body turned numb. Her mind was blank. Only by being more passionate with him could she slightly vent her desire. Finally, the two of them were no longer satisfied with deep kisses and body entanglement. The two of them began to anxiously take off each other's clothes. The degree of impatience was as if they wanted to use everything to make the other party burn. The man and woman rolled around on the big bed. The hot panting and moaning were like an aphrodisiac. The darkness increased the stimulation of their senses. In the end, they had already lost their rationality. Coco. I love you. Can you give it to me? In the depths of their passion, Jiang Shanka didn't forget to restrain himself and ask Gong Coco for her opinion. At this moment, Gong Coco had already lost all rationality. She only wanted to pull the man down with her. How could she refuse? However, she couldn't say that she wanted it. So, she kissed the man's lips directly as an invitation. At this moment, Jiang Shanka's muscles all over his body tensed up. He panted and almost tore off Gong Coco's remaining clothes and rushed in. The two of them both groaned. The difference was that Jiang Shanka felt good, but Gong Coco felt pain. It turned out that being a woman was so miserable. Being in the bridal room was so painful. Although Jiang Shanka really wanted to go all out, seeing that she was sad, he suppressed the strong impulse in his body and asked in a hoarse voice. Babe, are you okay? Gong Coco gritted her teeth and nodded. They would have to go to the bridal room sooner or later. I'm fine. You do it. Hearing Gong Coco's generous voice, Jiang Shanka laughed and then said passionately in her ear. Don't worry. The first time will hurt, but in the future, I'll make you fall in love with this feeling. As he said that, he couldn't hold it in anymore and moved as gently as possible. Gong Coco took it passively. She clenched her hands around his neck and declared with gritted teeth. You're mine. Jiang Shanka smiled faintly. That's right. Now, you're mine too. The night was still long, but for the man and woman who tasted the forbidden fruit for the first time, it was so short. Although it was painful at the beginning, Gong Coco's martial arts physique allowed her to quickly experience the benefits. The result of being greedy for pleasure was that Jiang Shanka couldn't resist the seduction again and again. Gong Coco's head started to feel heavy the next day. Her fever, which had already subsided, started to flare up again. At noon, Jiang Shanka's face was full of self-blame. Kiki. I'm sorry. Last night, I shouldn't have. At this point, the great CEO Jiang actually blushed. The taste of Kiki's body was too good. He couldn't control himself at all. Damn it, he couldn't think about it. Just thinking about it made him restless. Gong Coco glared at him, but soon began to act coquettishly in his arms again. I don't want to eat. I have no appetite. Jiang Shanka's expression changed slightly. How can you not eat? He brought over a bowl of soup and said softly. I made this myself. I heard that women need to replenish their vitality after the first time. Kiki, you should drink some, right? Chapter 965. Gong Coco also blushed. She glared at Jiang Shanka, but her eyes were full of charm, which made Jiang Shanka's bones melt. He suddenly turned around. I suddenly remembered that I still have something important to do. Hurry up and drink the soup, okay. I'll be back soon. After saying that, Jiang Shanke ran out of the room in a sorry state, leaving Gong Kiki laughing on the bed. She seemed to be in much better spirits. However, he rubbed his sore waist. He had been too indulgent yesterday. However, as soon as Jiang Shanke came out, he heard from the housekeeper that an uninvited guest wanted to see him. Wan Lin didn't expect Jiang Shanke to see her. She was very excited. In the past 2 days, all the people who heard Gong Coco had been cleaned up by Jiang Shanke. Only she was fine, so Wan Lin rejoiced and felt that the methods of the investigators were just as so-so. However, she still felt a little uneasy, so she planned to personally go and see Jiang Shanke's attitude. She wanted to see if Jiang Shanke knew and let her go, or if he didn't know about it at all. She hoped it was the former. Jiang Shanke narrowed his eyes and looked at Wan Lin. Because he simply missed her face, he had never thought about what this woman was like inside. In the end, he didn't expect that a woman who knew her limits would have an ambition that others couldn't reach. What are you doing here? Jiang Shanke's voice was faint. Wan Lin couldn't tell whether he was happy or angry, so she couldn't tell whether he had found anything. Hearing his question, Wan Lin lowered her head and said timidly, I heard that you have found Madam, so I wanted to see her. After all, there are some people outside who don't know the inside story talking nonsense about us. I don't want her to misunderstand because of me when you finally found her. These words were really well said. She was considerate of Jiang Shanke in every way. This woman was indeed a movie queen. However, Jiang Shanke was a little impatient. If he hadn't promised to let Coco deal with Wan Lin, he wouldn't have wanted to pretend to be polite with this woman. Coco was fierce, but in fact, as long as Wan Lin learned her lesson and obediently apologized, Coco wouldn't do anything to her. She would still be a movie queen. If she still wanted to do something secretly, Coco would teach her an unforgettable lesson. Coco is still resting. You wait outside. If she wants to see you, the servants will naturally come find you. It was the first time Jiang Shanke said so. He wasn't a good person. If one came this time, Coco might let her go. If she pretended to be good. But looking, it seemed that she wasn't that smart. That was good. When Gong Kiki heard that Wan Lin was here, she was stunned. What was she doing here? Could it be that she was afraid that Jiang Shanke would find out what she had done to him, so she came here to apologize in advance? With a conflicted mood, Gong Kiki ate her food intermittently. Jiang Shanke smiled and touched her face. Don't think too much. You are the master here. You can do whatever you want. Since she wants to come, leave her alone for a few hours. However, Gong Kiki quickly finished the food in her bowl. No, I want to see her now. I want to see what she wants to do. Jiang Shanke couldn't argue with her and sighed. Okay. You can do whatever you want. Little princess, please wait. She will be here soon. With that, he asked the servant to call her. Before coming, Wan Lin thought of many possibilities. For example, did Jiang Shanke know that she was the mastermind? Did he let her go because he had feelings for her? She also thought about how Gong Coco looked like. It was undeniable that the photo Gong Kiki left behind 3 years ago was quite good-looking. However, she had disappeared for 3 years and no one knew which country she had been sold to. Otherwise, she wouldn't have disappeared without a trace. In that case, she was definitely not as beautiful as she was back then. Moreover, she was already 27 years old and he was only 25. As a celebrity, she had always been well taken care of. If she went out and said that she was 20, people would believe her. Presumably, her appearance would dim Gong Kiki's light. With the idea of beating Gong Coco, Wan Lin followed the servant to Gong Coco's room in the most elegant way. Since Gong Coco woke up last time, Jiang Shanka took her back to the Jiang family. It was their old bedroom. All the decorations were the same as before. Wan Lin heard Jiang Shanka's voice at the door, so she quickly put on her most beautiful expression. She didn't want to miss any chance to impress Jiang Shanka. "Young master, young madam, Miss Wan is here." Wan Lin slowly walked out from behind the servant. But when her eyes fell on Gong Coco, she was stunned. She rubbed her eyes in disbelief. Gong Coco looked exactly the same as she did 3 years ago. No. She was even more beautiful than she was 3 years ago. Although she was still sick, Gong Coco was a woman last night. The charm between her eyebrows and her original pure temperament was especially seductive. She was sitting on the bed. Even without makeup, her appearance was enough to defeat all women. No wonder Jiang Shanka was infatuated with her. After Wan Lin miscalculated, she lowered her head to hide the unwillingness in her eyes. This woman. She was only the illegitimate daughter of the Gong family. She had no achievements and couldn't help Jiang Shanka at all. It could be said that other than her face, she didn't see anything else about Gong Coco that could make Jiang Shanka fall in love with her. She was just a vase. Such a woman couldn't compare to her. "You're madam, right?" Wan Lin quickly adjusted her state and revealed a gentle smile. She pretended to be very pure. "I'm Wan Lin. I often hear Director Jiang talk about you. I didn't expect you to be so young and beautiful. No wonder Director Jiang can't forget you." Her words didn't sound malicious, but after listening carefully, there was a knack for it. This woman called Wan Lin said that Jiang Shanka often saw her, so he had the opportunity to talk about her. Also, what did she mean by young and beautiful? Jiang Shanka couldn't forget her. Was she saying that she relied on her face to keep the man? "You're Wan Lin, the movie queen." Gong Coco glanced at her with some displeasure. Inexplicably, Wan Lin felt oppressed, but she was also a person who was used to big scenes, so she quickly reacted and said in a proud tone. "What movie king or movie queen? It's just an empty title. Didn't they say that it's better to marry well than to do well? So I really envy Sister Kiki." Gong Coco was depressed. She was only 18. Wan Lin seemed to be saying that she had the ability, so she could rely on herself to fight step by step. She, on the other hand, had only sold her body to obtain her current status. What a good, "it's better to marry well than to do well." She made it sound like she was useless. Others were looking for trouble, but Gong Coco wasn't someone to be trifled with. She glanced at Jiang Shanka and said with a coquettish look. "You're right. Marriage is really a skill. It must be very difficult for someone like you to climb up slowly, right? No wonder you look so much older than me. I'm different. My husband loves me so much and doesn't let me do anything. No wonder people said I was lucky when I was young." Chapter 966. Gong Coco's words infuriated Wan Lin. She gritted her teeth, but she didn't dare to show it. She didn't expect this. Gong Coco looked pure, but she was actually a powerful character. Their gazes met in the air for a moment, and sparks flew. Jiang Shanka saw that Coco was jealous and walked over to comfort her in a good mood. However, his gaze towards Wan Lin was terrifying. It was cold and malicious. Very good. This woman was indeed unafraid of death, just as he had expected. He only hoped that she wouldn't die too badly. "What are you doing here?" "Looking at my wife." "You've already seen it." Gong Coco saw Jiang Shanka coming over and mercifully let Jiang Shanka hug her. The couple looked at Wan Lin together. Wan Lin's face turned pale. The words, my wife, were a critical blow to her. She had always felt that Jiang Shanke was special to her. However, after seeing Gong Coco, she realized that the special treatment was nothing. It was as if Jiang Shanke had never looked at her with such a gentle gaze. However, she couldn't accept it. She was obviously more outstanding than Gong Coco. If Gong Coco could get it, why couldn't she? Wan Lin hid the madness in her eyes and smiled. I'm here for one more thing. Wan Lin took out a document from her bag and said embarrassedly, my wife suddenly disappeared. Back then, because Madame suddenly went missing, I was the one who replaced her in Mother of the World. Although the director said that I acted well and was very suitable for the role, I often felt guilty. It felt like I stole someone else's opportunity. So, I came here today to make up for it. Her words were blatant bragging to Gong Coco. Jiang Shanke sneered. He raised his hand and was about to get someone to drag this reckless woman away and serve her well. Gong Coco saw his intention and hugged his hand. Her eyes clearly said, you said you wouldn't interfere. Then, she smiled and stared at Wan Lin, restraining her anger. She wanted to see what this woman wanted. What compensation? You're making me curious. Jiang Shanke's outburst of anger made Wan Lin's heart tremble. Wan Lin regretted saying this at this time, but seeing that Gong Coco was interested, she timidly looked at Jiang Shanke, as if to say, this is what I want, don't blame me. This is a new drama that I'm going to film soon. Originally, I was the female lead. Her expression was a little pitiful. But I've decided to give up the female lead role to you. I'll play the supporting female lead. I hope this can make it up to you. Gong Coco was so angry that she laughed. This kind of charitable tone, it seemed that she was very proud of her identity as a movie queen. Her tone revealed that she was superior to others. Jiang Shanke sneered, do you think I can't even give my wife a role? Wan Lin waved her hand again and again. With one word from Jiang Shanke, she got the endorsement of a big brand in Asia. If Gong Coco wanted something, it would be a piece of cake. She took out the excuse that she had long thought of. President Jiang naturally has a lot of power, but this is my compensation to you. This is the best script I've received recently. Coincidentally, the director is my friend, so I can make the decision. I just hope that you won't be angry with me because of what happened before. Gong Coco raised her eyebrows. Why would I be? I can't ask for it. I've never played the female lead role before. This is a good opportunity. Seeing that Gong Coco had set a trap, Wan Lin hurriedly said. This drama has raised 500 million yuan, and it's adapted from a well-known online novel. It's popular before it's aired. You'll definitely like it. Gong Coco glanced at Jiang Shanke, and Jiang Shanke nodded. This drama was indeed good. After all, Wan Lin's status was high, and the investor was one of Wan Lin's suitors. She really put a lot of thought into this drama. Gong Coco knew what to do. Okay, I agree. After all, you're so sincere. If I refuse, I'll be too unreasonable. Wan Lin's eyes flashed coldly. Greed was greed. Why did she have to make it sound so dignified? Gong Coco was really hypocritical. But greed was good. As long as Gong Coco still wanted to be in the entertainment industry, she would definitely not be able to resist this temptation. Then, it would be convenient for her to take action. Humph, to be the female lead, she didn't even know if she had the ability. But she wouldn't remind her. She still wanted to see Gong Coco lose her reputation. Seeing that she was almost done acting, Jiang Shanke hurriedly drove her away. After Wan Lin left reluctantly, Jiang Shanke pinched Gong Coco's nose. She clearly has bad intentions. Why are you still jumping into her trap? Gong Coco snorted and said domineeringly, Mother said that only by defeating her in the field that she's good at will her beliefs be completely shattered. So, I've decided to use my strength to make her tremble. Looking at Gong Coco's heroic appearance, Jiang Shanka smiled. As long as she wanted to play, then let her play. He was just afraid that Wan Lin couldn't take it, and she wouldn't be able to play for too long. After Wan Lin left the Jiang residence, her face was gloomy. Looking at the super mansion in front of her, her heart was restless. From the beginning, Jiang Shanke had said to her very dangerously, You have a good face, but you'd better not have wishful thinking. He clearly had no interest in her. He just didn't want to see a woman who looked like his sister live such a dirty life. After all, the entertainment industry was a place of trouble. So, at the beginning, she was grateful and didn't have that kind of thought. But Jiang Shanke was too charming. He had money and power, but he was infatuated with a woman. Usually, he was clean and honest and never accepted temptation. If he was ugly, then it would be fine. But he was handsome and unparalleled. He was a living example of a proud son of God. If she didn't have a chance, then it would be fine. But she had a chance. Even if he just looked at her face and gave her a few pointers, it was enough for her to be greedy. So, she gradually fell. Especially every time she heard Jiang Shanka looking for his wife in the live broadcast, her eyes turned red with jealousy. Many people said that Jiang Shanke was hyping up, but only she knew that he really wanted to find that woman. If Gong Coco didn't appear in her life, then it would be fine. But she appeared and shattered her last hope. She knew very well that as long as Gong Coco appeared, Jiang Shanke would never look at her again, even if she had his sister's face. She couldn't accept this result. She wanted to destroy Gong Coco. Since Gong Coco wanted to play, Jiang Shanke naturally let her play. He specially assigned her a manager and an assistant, but Gong Coco's face was too recognizable. Everyone knew that she was Jiang Shanke's wife. So, when Wan Lin told the director that she wanted to give the female lead role to Gong Coco, the director considered Jiang Shanke and agreed not long after. Seeing Wan Lin's aggrieved look, the director said resentfully, You're good at everything, but your personality is too weak. That Gong Coco snatched something from you. You should have fought back. Director Jiang isn't an unreasonable person, but you're giving it away just like that. Chapter 967. Seeing that Wan Lin's eyes were red and she looked like she was about to cry, the director couldn't bear it and sighed. Okay, you're not bad as the supporting actress. She has a good personality and you'll attract a lot of fans. As for Gong Coco, it's best if she can play the female lead well. If she can't, I won't compromise. Wan Lin was proud, but she agreed with an aggrieved expression. Not only did the director feel unfair for Wan Lin, but Wan Lin's fans also exploded. A rich family is a rich family. Being rich is amazing. Our Wan worked so hard to get to where she is today. That Gong Coco is good. She came out of nowhere the moment she appeared. She even stole the script that our Wan worked so hard for. It's obvious that she did it on purpose. She saw that CEO Jiang is good to our Wan and did it on purpose. How vicious. That CEO is too blind. Wan is such a good woman, but he doesn't like her. I think she's much better than Gong Coco. At least Wan would never be so overbearing and steal other people's things. These years, CEO Jiang doesn't like anyone but Wan. Obviously, they have feelings for each other. If that bitch Gong didn't interfere, they would have gotten married long ago. It's said that before Gong Coco disappeared, she was preparing to film Mother of the World. After she disappeared, R11 replaced her. So, Gong Coco came back to take revenge. Someone analyzed in an orderly manner. Then, there was a lot of scolding. That bitch Gong Coco doesn't need to explain. When she wanted to star in Mother of the World, I thought it was strange. How could a small-time star like her have such luck? It turns out that she has a big tree to rely on. Our poor Wanwan had to screen step by step before she was chosen. Look at Gong Coco. Can she act well in Mother of the World? Maybe she's good in bed. Why would she need acting skills? Don't you see that the CEO can't forget her? She must be famous. Do you know how Gong Coco became popular? She became popular because of those erotic videos with many men. I've seen those videos. TSK, so unrestrained. Someone purposely led the conversation astray, causing the latter part of the conversation to become more and more crooked. The insults were endless and infuriating. They were prejudiced against Gong Coco from the very beginning. After all, no one could win the favor of President Jiang, but she did. If she had been honest and didn't make any mistakes, the 3 years of waiting could still be passed down as a good story. However, as soon as she appeared, she stole someone else's script. This gave others a reason to criticize her. Naturally, those people didn't hold back and added fuel to the fire. Many people even went to Jiang Shanke's official Weibo account to express their doubts about Jiang Shanke's taste in people. Although Jiang Shanke didn't interact with outsiders, he was deeply affectionate and good-looking. Somehow, he had a large group of fans. Now, they came to ask for a divorce, saying that Gong Coco's existence had dragged down the entire Jiang group's image. Moreover, they scolded Gong Coco more and more, as if Gong Coco had done something terrible to them. Gong Coco didn't doubt that eggs would be thrown at her if she walked on the street now. Jiang Shanke handed the results to her and said with a frown, "I've done it." It was done by Wan Lin's suitor, Wang Hao. Do you need me to help you suppress it? He had to admit that these people were very bold. Did they really think that he was easy to bully? Gong Coco naturally knew that with Jiang Shanke's current power, as long as he said a word, the news about her on the internet would completely disappear. However, so what if she covered it up? Once the notice of the change of caste was released, coupled with Wan Lin's aggrieved look, she had long become the target of public criticism. Under such circumstances, suppressing it would be difficult to calm her anger. Gong Coco sneered, "I told you not to worry about it. I know what I'm doing. Speaking of which, I'm a little looking forward to the start of the filming." Jiang Shanke's expression was rather stiff. If it weren't for him, Coco wouldn't have to face this greedy woman. He hugged Gong Coco and coaxed her. "All right, Coco, it's fine if you want to play around. Don't be angry, and don't be angry at me because of those irrelevant people." Gong Kiki pushed him away and said with a smile that wasn't a smile, "Now that you mention it, I remember what you did to make the world think that you and Wan Lin are a couple and I'm the third party, Her dangerous tone made Jiang Shanke smile apologetically. "No, Wan Lin thinks too highly of herself. I only have you in my heart. I'm going to deal with her right now. Don't give me that." Gong Coco snorted, "I told you not to interfere, so don't interfere. I want her to accept her defeat wholeheartedly." "Understood, Your Highness." However, unbeknownst to Gong Coco, Jiang Shanke directly logged into the company's Weibo and made a statement. "Jiang Shanke himself, Gong Coco is my wife, the only one in my life. Other than Coco, any other woman has nothing to do with me. I've never had an ambiguous relationship with anyone, and it's impossible for me to be moved by any woman other than Coco." After he posted this, Weibo blew up again. Especially Wan Lin's fans, who felt as if they had been slapped hard in the face. Some people gloated and left comments. "This is great. Someone always likes to use the great CEO Jiang to create hype. Now the CEO has personally slapped her in the face, right? That's true. Gong Coco is the CEO's wife after all. Someone is too shameless. She's acting like a mistress, and she's blaming the wife for dealing with her. If not her, who else would she deal with? Such words made Wan Lin's face burn with embarrassment. She threw her phone away and angrily slashed Gong Coco's photo in front of her with a knife. I'm not a mistress. Go to hell. Go to hell. As long as you're dead, everything will be fine. After venting her anger, her eyes darkened and she laughed coldly. For now, she would let Gong Coco be arrogant for a while. After some time, people would see how hateful Gong Coco was. Even if she didn't say anything, others would not be able to stand it and teach Gong Coco a lesson. She just had to watch the show. Hence, amidst the doubts, the drama, the princess above started filming. Wan Lin put on pale makeup before marrying the crew. When the visiting fans saw Wan Lin's appearance, their hearts ached. Wan, don't be sad. You're the best. We're all here to cheer you on. Wan Lin showed them a sad and forced smile, and those people instantly boiled over. Someone held an egg in her hand. I want to see who this Gong Coco is. How can she be so thick-skinned? She wants to steal Wan's position, but she doesn't have the ability to do so. I'll teach her a lesson later. Someone agreed. When she comes later, don't be polite. Just greet her. Even if the great CEO Jiang wants to punish her, the law can't punish everyone. Wan Lin saw all of this and didn't know. She entered the set first. Then, under everyone's gazes, Gong Coco arrived. Chapter 968. The moment Gong Coco arrived, the entire place was in an uproar. They were all here to support Wan Lin. Although they were young, they were all hot-blooded. Even though they knew who Gong Coco's husband was, they still dared to take the lead, showing that they were not afraid of power. After Gong Coco got out of the car, the originally noisy scene suddenly quieted down. Gong Coco's skin was so fair that it was almost transparent. No matter how fair a Chinese female celebrity was, they were still lacking compared to a Caucasian. However, Gong Coco's skin was the skin of a Caucasian. Moreover, her skin was creamy, and not a single pore could be seen. So much so that when the sun shone on her body, it was like a reflection. Seeing that there were many people present, Gong Coco's gray brows twitched, revealing a dissatisfied expression. However, she did not give off a feeling of arrogance. She only gave off the feeling that this was how it should be. She should be walking in the palace, and not in such a noisy place. As she got out of the car, her smoky gray starlight dress seemed to glow. After she got out of the car, her black eyes swept across the crowd, revealing a sense of arrogance and nobility. This kind of woman was obviously from the aristocracy. She was different from them. This recognition was incomparably clear in the minds of those people. After the scene quieted down, Gong Coco walked in as if she had not seen anything. Only then did the crowd realize that they were Wan Lin's fans. They were actually stunned by another woman. At this moment, a very angry person came back to her senses and shouted, "Gong Coco, go to hell." Then, she threw the egg in her hand. It was conceivable that if Gong Coco's gorgeous clothes were stained with egg, her appearance today would be completely ruined. Because it happened too suddenly, the bodyguards at the side did not expect this to happen. They wanted to stop it, but it was too late. They could only watch as the egg flew towards Gong Coco's shoulder. However, what they did not expect was that Gong Coco actually caught it as if she had eyes on the back of her head. The action of her fair hand grabbing the egg was too handsome, too much like an expert's. The person who threw the egg didn't expect Gong Coco to be so powerful. She quickly threw the other egg in her hand. At this time, the bodyguard was prepared. He wanted to stop her, but he was pulled away by Gong Coco. In the next second, she kicked the egg, but it was kicked back. It smashed right into the girl's face. What a scene! They didn't even see how Gong Coco kicked. Also, why didn't the balls break when she kicked them? Why was the counterattack so accurate? As the girl screamed, the bodyguards quickly surrounded Gong Coco. It was so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. They had been stunned by Gong Coco right from the start. What was a martial arts master? This was a martial arts master. Gong Coco calmly lifted the hem of her robe. No matter who you're here for or what you want to do, I, Gong Coco, only have one thing to say. If you provoke me, I'll return it 10 times over. After she finished speaking in a domineering manner, she walked away like an immortal. That neat and noble back view made those girls who were shocked scream. This was Gong Coco. How could Gong Coco be so handsome and have such a noble temperament? Was she really just an 18th-tier female celebrity? Why did they think that she was born in the royal family? At this time, they had completely forgotten their purpose of coming here. They all stared blankly at Gong Coco's back view. Gong Coco also quickly forgot about them. After all, it was just a small matter. Seeing Gong Coco walk in unscathed, some of the people who wanted to see her make a fool of herself revealed strange expressions. They knew how crazy Wan Lin's fans were. In the past, there was a woman who looked very similar to Wan Lin. Then, she said something bad and was splashed with paint by Wan Lin's fans. It was also when she attended a certain fashion show. This time, Gong Coco stole Wan Lin's female lead role. Was she let go just like that? Everyone was amazed. After a simple self-introduction, Gong Coco went to the dressing room. When the makeup artist passed by Wan Lin, she said with righteous indignation. Wan Lin, don't worry. I won't let her steal your limelight. After that, she immediately went to the dressing room and prepared to quietly make Gong Coco ugly. It had to be said that Wan Lin was very popular. Everyone in the crew was on her side. Gong Coco closed her eyes and let the makeup artist do her makeup. When she closed her eyes, her faint noble temperament was undoubtedly more obvious. When the makeup artist saw her face, she was a little hesitant because her skin looked so good. Any makeup would be a bit redundant. However, the makeup artist thought that there was no natural beauty. She must have put on nude makeup. She simply did not remove her makeup and started to do it directly. Anyway, it was difficult to make her beautiful, but it was easy to make her ugly. Therefore, an hour later, Gong Coco opened her eyes and looked at herself in the mirror. She had aged more than 10 years. She smiled coldly. Isn't the female lead too old like this? She asked faintly. The makeup artist was very satisfied with her work and quickly said, What do you know? The female lead of this drama is a princess. A princess should be dignified. What? You want me to put on makeup like a courtesan for you? Gong Coco's face darkened. Call your director over. Her attitude was very casual, as if the director was supposed to serve her. The makeup artist originally wanted to mock her, but when she saw how arrogant she was, she quickly ran over to the director and cried. She said that Gong Coco was acting like a big shot and looked down on her skills. She even wanted her to call the director. The director was busy and did not have the time to care about her. However, he was enraged by the makeup artist's words. He threw his script aside and walked over. He had to let Gong Coco know that even if she was Jiang Shanka's wife, she could not be lawless in the production team. However, when he reached the makeup room, Gong Coco asked before he could speak. Great director, I heard that you are a famous director in the country and are known as a genius. Let me ask you, do you think that my makeup is really suitable to be the female lead? The director was furious when he saw her face. Then, the makeup artist said, she doesn't have a good foundation. It's good enough that she put on makeup like this. The makeup artist was sure that Gong Coco would not dare to put on makeup in front of everyone. However, Gong Coco laughed coldly. Bring me water. The director asked, why? Do you want to remove your makeup on the spot? Gong Kiki nodded. I think I look 10 times better without makeup than with makeup. Why don't I do it without makeup? This arrogant attitude made everyone present a little unhappy. Immediately, someone went to get water and even brought makeup remover over. Gong Coco laughed coldly and washed her face. When she raised her head, everyone was stunned. It was probably because Gong Coco's skin was too good that the makeup artist was shocked. She did not expect Gong Coco to come without makeup at the beginning. She was actually so good-looking. Gong Coco laughed coldly and asked, can you prove me now? This woman doesn't even know how to put on makeup. Fire her. The director was speechless. He looked at the makeup artist's pale face and said, you don't have to come to work tomorrow. Chapter 969. The director was very insistent. If Gong Coco was being unreasonable, he would not tolerate it. However, Gong Coco was Jiang Shanka's wife after all. If someone deliberately bullied her, he would be looking for death if he tolerated it. The makeup artist didn't expect that just because she couldn't stand Gong Kiki's behavior, the director would fire her after giving her a small punishment. Thinking of this, she glared at Gong Coco fiercely. The director must be afraid of Gong Coco's identity. She threw away the things in her hand and said angrily, Gong Coco, others may be afraid of you, but I am not. You took Wan Lin's position as soon as you arrived and acted like a big shot. We have long disliked you. How did you get here? We all know it in our hearts. If you don't want to do it, then so be it. I don't want to do makeup for people like you. Then, she picked up her bag and left. Gong Coco looked at Wan Lin's pale face and smiled faintly. You all think that I took Wan Lin's position. The onlookers had different expressions, but most of them showed dissatisfaction. It could be seen that Wan Lin was very popular. Wan Lin was very good at dealing with people, but she was always a little calculating. If someone observed carefully, they would find that Wan Lin was very busy. She only cared about people who were useful to her. She did not care about those who were not important to her. Gong Coco knew what was going on when she saw their eyes. At this time, she suddenly took out the necklace around her neck and pointed it at the white wall. A video was played. Although it was not very clear, it was very clear how Wan Lin went to find Gong Coco and how she took out the document to give up the female lead role. Especially when Gong Coco picked up the document, the words on it were very clear. They did not expect that it was Wan Lin who took the initiative to give up the role. Then why did she pretend that the female lead role was taken away by force? Your video has no sound. How do we know that you did not coerce Wan Lin, forcing her to take the initiative to give up? Gong Coco sneered. Seeing Wan Lin's pale face, she smiled wickedly. Nothing is clearer than the person involved. Wan Lin, tell me, did I force you? Wan Lin saw that everyone was looking at her. Her body trembled. Damn Gong Coco. She even had a video. She pretended to be on the verge of tears. No, Sister Kiki didn't force me. I did it willingly. But looking at her, no one would believe that she was willing to do it. On the other hand, Gong Coco had a strong aura and was overbearing. It was obvious that she was the bully. Speak properly. Gong Coco snorted in dissatisfaction. You sound like I'm forcing you to lie. If you don't know how to speak properly, then I'll have to play the recording. Wan Lin trembled. Gong Coco had a recording. Seeing Gong Coco's calm appearance, Wan Lin became more and more panicked. The people around her stared at her, waiting for her to fight back. They all wanted to know the truth. Wan Lin had no choice but to cry. She looked at Gong Coco with teary eyes. Why are you doing this to me? Doing this to you? Gong Coco took a step forward, raised her head, and looked at her arrogantly. What did I do to you? You're allowed to slander me, but I'm not allowed to fight back. You came here to play the good guy, saying that you felt guilty for replacing the female lead of The Mother of the World and wanted to give the princess above to me. Then you acted pitiful to your fans and said that I bullied you. I've never seen someone as hypocritical as you. Gong Coco forced Wan Lin to take a few steps back. Gong Coco's aura made her speechless. Her heart was filled with hatred. She suddenly had the thought of pushing all the blame onto Gong Coco. Even if she took out the recording and pretended to cry, everyone would think that Gong Coco was forced to record it to clear her name. After all, who could predict the future and record it from the beginning? Gong Coco looked at her eyes and guessed what she was thinking. She snorted, "Do you want others to misunderstand that I forced you to record it?" She saw Wan Lin's expression freeze and couldn't help but laugh. That's all you've got. Actually, I didn't record it. You don't have to be so scared. I just wanted to expose your true colors. I'm pissed when I see you putting on a show. What can't my husband give me? Do you think I care about a female lead like you? If you didn't come to me and say that the director is your friend and the investor is your admirer, I would have jumped down to see what tricks you had up your sleeve. Gong Coco said regretfully. But that's all you've got. You pretended to be the victim and used others to bully me. Why don't you think that I, Gong Coco, am someone you can bully? Everyone was silent. The reversal in front of them was really unexpected. Gong Coco glanced at everyone and raised her eyebrows. Let's forget about what happened today. Whoever foolishly uses Wan Lin in the future won't just be fired. I'll make sure they can't find a job in the entire Haidian city. Seeing that everyone's expressions changed again, Gong Coco nodded in satisfaction and took the clothes to the changing room. The director's expression was ugly. He had been suppressed by Gong Coco just now and couldn't say a word. Moreover, he looked at Wan Lin. He was almost used by this woman. What a good trick. Everyone saw that Wan Lin couldn't produce any evidence and couldn't refute for a long time. Moreover, people like Gong Coco didn't care to lie. Coupled with the video, they already believed in Gong Coco in their hearts. They didn't expect that Wan Lin, who looked like a good person, was actually like this. It really ruined her image. Wan Lin saw that the people she tried so hard to win over were all showing expressions of disbelief. She shook her head and walked away. This time, she showed an aggrieved expression, but no one comforted her. When Gong Coco spoke, she didn't refute, which was equivalent to acquiescing. However, there were still a few fools around Wan Lin and said with righteous indignation, Gong Coco is too much. Who does she think she is? Is she a god? How dare she threaten us so openly? I think this drama will be ruined by her. Wan Lin's eyes lit up. That's right. There was still the drama. If Gong Coco was just a straw bag and couldn't support the script, wouldn't she be the one to replace Gong Coco? If she could replace Gong Coco once, she could replace her a second time. This time, she was negligent. She didn't expect Gong Coco to record, but there would be no next time. When Gong Coco changed her clothes, she smiled sweetly. It felt good to be a fox relying on a tiger's might. She was indeed very lucky. In Dayu State, she had the support of her brother and Uncle Chio. Here, she had Jiang Shanka. The only regret was that Wan Lin was too weak. She didn't feel any sense of accomplishment when she attacked her. It seemed that she had to end this quickly. Jiang Shanka received Gong Coco's message and the corners of his mouth rose slightly. It had been a few days since the filming started. Gong Coco would take time to video call him every day. It felt as if they had always been together. Chapter 970. Do your job well. I'll be flying to Country M later, but I'll be back tomorrow. Jiang Shanke said gently to Gong Coco. Gong Coco nodded. Okay. Go ahead. But before she could finish, a discordant voice came from the video. Ms. Gong, CEO Wang is here. The director wants you to get ready. Relax and don't be nervous during the shoot. Gong Coco nodded, then said to Jiang Shanka, I'm going to work. Bye-bye. Then, she quickly hung up the phone. After hanging up the phone, the smile on Gong Coco's face turned cold. CEO Wang. Wang Hao. Wan Lin's most loyal suitor, a rich second-generation heir. His feelings for Wan Lin had reached the point of blindness. This time, he had invested 300 million, but he didn't even touch Wan Lin's fingers. Now that he was here, he must be here to support Wan Lin. Gong Coco touched her face. Today, because of the plot, she had to dress up as a man and play the hero who saved the beauty, which was Wan Lin. What a good plan. When she appeared in the ugliest appearance in the movie, Wan Lin called her loyal dog. This way, Wang Hao could only see her beauty and hate her even more. Others might take Jiang Shanke into consideration. Even Wang Hao's father didn't dare to go against Jiang Shanke, but Wang Hao, who had been blinded by love, didn't have so many taboos. Perhaps this was the reason why Wan Lin looked for him to support her. Sure enough, Wan Lin was crying in Wang Hao's arms. If it was in the past, she would never let this man touch her because she had to be pure to be worthy of Jiang Shanke. But now, she couldn't care less. With a warm and fragrant jade in his arms and hearing her crying, Wang Hao immediately promised her. Wan, don't worry. I'll definitely teach that woman a lesson. Don't cry. You're making my heart ache. Wan Lin nodded and lowered her eyes to hide the madness in them. During this period of time, Gong Coco's superb acting skills had been acknowledged by everyone. She had originally thought that the script would be ruined by Gong Coco, but now it had become her success. With this fear, she had no choice but to come up with this plan. Who told the crew to keep their distance from her? It was as if she was some kind of evil white lotus. She had no choice but to let Wang Hao take action. After the intimate moment, they walked out. The director stared at Wan Lin with an ugly expression and then said to Wang Hao with a smile, President Wang, this way please. Didn't you want to see the actors filming live? It's about to begin. Wang Hao put away his tenderness and said arrogantly, take me there. Gong Keek's expression didn't change when she saw Wang Hao's arrival. Today's makeup only darkened her face and thickened her eyebrows. Although it was incomparable to her usual radiant appearance, she wasn't ugly. Instead, she exuded a heroic aura. Wang Hao looked away after a glance. He did not know what Jiang Shanke's taste was. Gong Coco looked like this, yet he still searched for her for 3 years. His Wan was still the prettiest. Since Gong Kiki knew martial arts, she didn't hire a stunt double for these scenes. Although Wang Hao was present today, it didn't affect Gong Keek's performance. She executed a series of smooth martial arts moves without a single mistake. The long scene was flawless. Gong Keek's face turned red. Wan Lin could not compare to this ability even if she practiced for another 10 years. The director was excited and forgot about Wang Hao's existence. Just as he was about to shout, "Cut!" Wang Hao suddenly threw the cup in his hand to the ground. What the hell is this acting? Director, I only invested so much because I trusted you. What kind of female lead did you find for me? Not only is she ugly, but her acting is also bad. She can't even compare to Wan Wan. Are you deliberately trying to make me lose money? His scolding made the scene fall into a deadlock. The actor stopped and looked at the director, not knowing how to deal with it. The director cursed in his heart. This Wang Hao was picking on the weak. If he was so arrogant, why didn't he find trouble with director Jiang? Moreover, before meeting Gong Coco, the director felt that Wan Lin was not bad. Her acting was not bad, but she lacked a noble and domineering aura. This was related to her family background, so it could not be forced. However, Gong Coco had this noble aura, so she was much more suitable than Wan Lin. However, he still had to calm Wang Hao's anger. The director glanced at Wan Lin and said with a forced smile, "Kiki is quite good. She's also pretty. It's just because of the makeup today." "Come, Xiaozhou, go and get Kiki's photos," Wang Hao quickly stopped him. "Don't, it's dirty my eyes. With her face, even Photoshop can't save it." At this moment, Wan Lin came over. He smiled and pulled Wan Lin and said, "Wan Wan is still the prettiest." Wan Lin saw the director's gaze and quickly said hypocritically, "Brother Hao, don't be like this. Give the director some face, I'm giving him a lot of face." Wang Hao was very arrogant. As long as he tells the truth on the official website and admits that Gong Coco's acting is not good and that he wants to replace her. Naturally, I won't say anything. At this moment, Gong Coco walked over. "Oh. Who do you want to replace?" She smiled, revealing her snow-white teeth. At this moment, even her dark skin could not hide her beauty. She was as eye-catching as the morning sun. So, dark skin did not mean that one was ugly. Wang Hao was stunned for a moment. He thought that Gong Coco was not bad-looking, but he already had Wan Wan. Therefore, he looked at Gong Coco with contempt. "No one would want you. Your acting is so bad, and your expressions and actions are so stiff. Do you want my 300 million yuan to go down the drain by letting you act?" Wan Lin stood behind Wang Hao with a speechless expression. However, no matter how innocent she pretended to be, everyone was not stupid. They all knew who hired Wang Hao. From the looks of it, Wan Lin was really a black-hearted lotus. First, he gave her the script. Now that he saw that she had the ability to play the female lead, he wanted to force her back. Wang Hao really knew how to lie through his teeth. Gong Coco's performance just now was perfect. If that was called stiff and her acting skills would ruin the drama, then all the dramas should be destroyed. Gong Coco raised her small chin. Her expression was even more contemptuous than Wang Hao's. "What if I say no?" Wang Hao saw that Gong Coco was so arrogant and said without thinking, "No. If you don't, I'll withdraw my investment. Not only will I withdraw my investment, but I'll also ask my friend to withdraw his investment. 500 million yuan. Director, you have to think carefully." As he said that, he pushed Wan Lin in front of everyone. "You don't want to use the best actress and use a trash actress. Aren't you afraid that people will criticize you behind your back and say that you're afraid of power?" Who was that power? Everyone knew in their hearts. The director's face was ashen. Before he could say anything, Wang Hao said as if he was giving alms, "If you return Wan Wan's position to her, I'll add another 300 million yuan. Otherwise, I'll withdraw all my investment. Think about it." Chapter 971. What a big tone. Just as the director was in a dilemma, a group of bodyguards in black forced their way in, and a man in a beige suit strolled in like a god. It was Jiang Shanka. Wan Lin's face turned pale, and she quickly broke free from Wang Hao's hand. She hated him in her heart. What was going on? She had spent so much money to know that Jiang Shanka was going abroad today. Why didn't he go abroad? Gong Coco originally wanted to teach these people a lesson, but when she saw Jiang Shanka, her fierce side instantly disappeared. After being hugged by Jiang Shanka, she groaned in dissatisfaction. They bullied me. Jiang Shanka loved the way she snitched on him, but when his eyes fell on Wang Hao, they were not so friendly. Wang Hao quickly stood up. Although he was reckless and was not afraid of anyone, he still knew that if he offended Jiang Shanka, his father would definitely beat him to death. So he still had to show respect. Mr. Jiang, I didn't expect you to come. He was a little timid, but when he saw Wan Lin looking at Jiang Shanka in a daze, he was angry, and his tone became aggressive. You came at the right time. Business is business. I spent a lot of money to invest in the princess above. I believe that if Wan acts in it, she will be worthy of my investment. But Gong Coco, he snorted and was very disdainful of Gong Coco, who was dressed in coarse linen clothes and was dark and swarthy. Although your wife is good-looking, her acting is too bad. She is simply forcing me to waste my money. I still want Wan to act in it. I believe that Mr. Jiang will not force others to do it for your own selfish desires, right? Jiang Shanka smiled gently, and a touch of ridicule appeared on his handsome face. My Coco is the best. No one can compare to her. No one can compare to her. He saw Wan Lin's face was pale and she was on the verge of collapse, so he said indifferently. If you're afraid that your money will go down the drain, that's fine. Withdraw your investment. I'll invest in this drama. I have high hopes for my woman. To be able to receive such gentle protection from Jiang Shanka, the surrounding female staff members all revealed expressions of envy and jealousy. Gong Coco was so lucky to have such a good man like Jiang Shanka. Of course, Wang Hao was unwilling to withdraw his investment. He was very optimistic about this drama, and the investment was sure to be profitable. However, he could not ignore Wan Lin's request, so he decided to act shamelessly. It's fine if you want to withdraw your investment. It's only 300 million. It's not worth mentioning. But I'm willing to invest 300 million. It's just a small request like changing the female lead. Director, are you not going to agree? Unable to do anything to Jiang Shanka, Wang Hao directly fired at the director. Seeing that the director was sweating profusely, Jiang Shanka smiled and said, So you have the right to speak if you invest money. This is simple. Director, I'll invest 600 million, but my baby must be the female lead. How about that? The director's heart trembled violently and he immediately made a decision. Wang Hao was nothing compared to Jiang Shanka, who was filthy rich, ruthless, and taciturn. With Jiang Shanka's support, even if Wang Hao withdrew his investment, there was nothing to be afraid of. Thus, he said firmly, but she's more suitable than Wan Lin to be the female lead. This matter will not change. His words were equivalent to publicly standing on Gong Coco's side, which angered Wan Lin to death. How was she inferior to Gong Coco? Gong Kiki, she's just relying on her youthful face. She was just relying on Jiang Shanka. Wang Hao was also stunned by Jiang Shanka's generosity. That was 600 million, not 6,000 yuan. Jiang Shanka was really inhumane for his wife. However, when he saw Wan Lin's fragile gaze, he gritted his teeth and wanted to add more money, but he could not because his father was very strict. 300 million had already emptied his savings. There was a stalemate. Instead, it was Gong Coco who asked with a smile. "Mr. Wang, are you saying that I'm not as good as Wan Lin?" she said mischievously. "Then let's compete. I don't like to suppress people with power. I like to speak with strength." Wan Lin's eyes lit up as she looked hopefully at Jiang Shanke. However, Jiang Shanke only looked gently at Gong Coco, knowing that she wanted to prank him. As expected, Gong Coco said mischievously. "But I have a request. Recently, there have been a lot of negative comments on the internet, which have a great impact on this drama. So, I've decided that no matter what the competition is, the whole thing will be broadcasted live. Wan Lin, do you dare?" The director was a little hesitant. This was a little risky. Wan Lin was even more hesitant, but she knew that this might be her only chance. Because if she did not agree, she would never have a chance to be the female lead of this drama. So before the director could object, she gritted her teeth and nodded. Okay. Gong Coco only knew some martial arts and some acting skills. How could she be better than her? While the director was still hesitating, Jiang Shanke had already walked up to him and said in a low voice. "Don't worry, I'll let a professional team handle the operation. Today's competition will not only not affect the drama, but also increase the exposure. Why don't you do it?" After getting Jiang Shanke's guarantee, the director nodded and then directly released an announcement on the official website, saying that there would be a competition for the female lead. The director said, "I know that many people have doubts about the female lead of A Princess Above. In order to quell these doubts, this afternoon, there will be a live competition. Whoever is more suitable for the role will speak with strength." The director's words made the official website boil. What's going on? Could it be that the two female leads are fighting and the director has no choice? I guess it's because Wan Lin's fans are making too much of a fuss. Is it a live broadcast? Our Wan Lin's chance to wash away her shame has come. What good drama can that bitch Gong act in? I'm looking forward to the face slapping this afternoon. A live broadcast is good. Only a live broadcast can show how powerful the unspoken rules of the entertainment industry are. What right does that bitch Gong have to come out of nowhere? What right does she have to bully our Wan Lin? How can a person like that bitch Gong, who relies on her body to get to the top, compare to our Wan Lin? Get out of the production team, get out of the entertainment industry. At this moment, a comment by the name of The Truth Emperor suddenly appeared. Brainless fans can stop. According to reliable sources, Wan Lin took the initiative to give up the script for A Princess Above. It said that it was because Mother of the World originally belonged to Gong Coco. After she took the role, she felt embarrassed. Gong Coco even recorded a video of Wan Lin's visit at that time. Everyone in the industry knows about this. Wan Lin acted as a good person and coveted someone else's husband. On the other hand, she acted pitiful, saying that the original wife stole the female lead. She didn't know that if she didn't take the initiative to withdraw, how could the signed contract be voided? However, what Wan Lin didn't expect was that Gong Coco's acting was good. This drama would obviously let Gong Coco soar to the top. Hence, Wan Lin panicked and thought of all sorts of reasons to drag Gong Coco down with her. That's why today's competition was held. Although it's called a competition, it's also a slap in the face. His words were pushed to the top in an instant. Many brainless fans protested, saying that if Gong Coco had the video, she should release it. Otherwise, it would be slander. Chapter 972. Wan Lin was glad that the director would not allow Gong Coco to release the video, no matter how worried he was about Jiang Shanke. It was not only evidence, but it would also discredit the show. If Gong Coco did not take it out, others would think that Gong Coco was slandering her. It seemed that the clamor on the internet was very beneficial to her. But she did not expect that when the clamor for Gong Coco to show evidence was getting louder and louder, Gong Coco really took it out. It was a silent video from Gong Coco's point of view. It not only showed that Wan Lin happily gave up the script, but also some people who knew lip reading added some dialogue to the video. After translating Wan Lin's previous words, everyone thought that this woman was shameless. A mistress who came to ridicule the official wife, who gave her the face. No, calling her a mistress was too flattering. It turned out that Wan Lin was not close to the president as the public misunderstood. On the contrary, she was very reserved in front of Jiang Shanke. Whether it was the way she addressed him or other things, it was obvious that Jiang Shanke had nothing to do with her. They were just superior and subordinate. Then what she did was even more abominable. The netizens left comments. I used to think that there was something between President Jiang and Wan Lin. After all, Wan Lin had hinted at it many times. I didn't expect the truth to be like this. She said that she came to deliver the script, but Wan Lin's evil eyes have been looking at President Jiang. Her intention to seek sex is too obvious. She gave it away and asked for it back. She even pretended that she was bullied. Wan Lin is such a woman. It's disgusting. I used to think that President Jiang's affection was just for show. I didn't expect him to be so affectionate. Look at his eyes. They are full of affection. If I didn't know, I would think that the president on the cover TV was another person. President Jiang is so affectionate. Although I know that he is not looking at me, my heart is beating fast. I'm so jealous. I also want to be stared at like this by the great CEO. Except for Wan Lin's fans who were still making a fuss, the others did not care too much about Wan Lin. Some passers-by only liked Wan Lin's acting after watching the video released by Gong Coco. After all, there were not many people who could act so well. Wan Lin really couldn't face the doubts of her fans. In a fit of anger, she smashed the tablet. Her fans felt cheated. Other than her core fans, everyone else wanted Wan Lin to come out and clarify the matter. Many of her casual fans ran away. Before the afternoon competition even started, she had already lost more than half of her matches. Wan Lin hated Gong Coco for being merciless while crying in Wang Hao's arms. It's not like that. Gong Coco was afraid that she would steal my position and the fans would scold her, so she forced me to record this video in advance. Wang Hao's eyes flashed. He wasn't a fool. How could he not know what the truth was? Especially when he saw Wan Lin repeatedly look at Jiang Shanke in the video. Her shy and timid look made him irritated. The person he held in his hands was someone that others didn't care about. This knowledge completely shattered Wan Lin's goddess status in Wang Hao's heart. He comforted Wan Lin as he spoke. I can help you in the afternoon and let you trample Gong Coco under your feet during the live broadcast, but, he glanced at Wan Lin with a meaningful look. You have to exchange your body for it. Wan Lin was originally happy, but now she was only left with shock. She looked at Wang Hao in a panic and said as if she was frightened, Brother Hao, what are you saying? I thought our relationship was equal and pure. Why would you suddenly make such a request? I was wrong about you. Wang Hao subconsciously wanted to comfort her. After all, it seemed a little overboard to take advantage of her current situation. However, when he thought of Jiang Shanke's indifference to Wan Lin, he swallowed his words of comfort. What? You want to maintain your chastity after being a prostitute? If I were Jiang Shanke, would you still talk about pure friendship with me? I'm afraid you want me to fuck you. Wang Hao's words scared Wan Lin. What was going on? Wang Hao was clearly the person who supported and respected her the most. Why did he suddenly change? Brother Hao, it's not like that. Sob sob, you misunderstood me. Misunderstood. How about this, you give me your body, and I'll deal with Gong Coco for you, no matter the cost. Wang Hao saw Wan Lin's eyes flicker and said bewitchingly. You won't get another chance if you miss this village. Not everyone dares to go against Zhang Shanke. Wang Hao was originally angry, but he regretted it as soon as he said it. How could he blaspheme his goddess? However, before he could coax her, Wan Lin suddenly made up her mind. Okay. This afternoon, as long as you can let me win, I'll give it to you. Wang Hao was stunned, and after a long time, he smiled. Wan Lin only saw the surprise in his eyes, but she didn't see the coldness behind his eyes. Gong Coco's attitude was much more relaxed. In the VIP lounge, Jiang Shanke held Gong Coco's jade feet and asked gently. Do you feel better? Gong Coco nodded repeatedly. Much better. Jiang Shanke saw that Gong Coco's toes were still red, and said unhappily, those men are too rough. It's just a fight scene, and your feet are red. Gong Coco heard that and shrunk her toes in embarrassment. That's my problem. I've been red since I was young. And I'm very strong. Those actors who acted with me in the morning are miserable. I think they're bruised now. They're not miserable. Jiang Shanke kissed her toes lovingly and said solemnly, it's their fortune to be beaten by you. The bodyguards who were invisible at the side wished they could disappear completely. They had seen people who spoiled their wives, but they had never seen such a shameless person. Gong Coco chuckled. What if I hurt them? She hinted at what happened in the afternoon. Jiang Shanke's expression didn't change. That's not your fault. Who asked those people to crawl under your feet? Gong Coco snickered. Luckily you're not in ancient times, or you'd be a fatuous ruler. Jiang Shanke carefully helped her put on her shoes, and said calmly as he helped her put on her shoes. For you, I can do anything. What's wrong with that? Yes, yes, yes. Gong Coco expressed her full affirmation. Just as the bodyguards couldn't stand it anymore, the director arrived. The live broadcast was ready, and they were just waiting for the two female leads to go on stage. Gong Coco shrugged nonchalantly, but Wan Lin's footsteps were heavy. One wrong step after another, and she didn't know how she got to this point. If only Gong Coco didn't record it. No. If only Gong Coco died and didn't come back. Thinking of this, she looked at Gong Coco who came out from the opposite door, and her eyes were gloomy. Gong Coco. You forced me to do this. Chapter 973. Since they were competing for the female lead role, the competition was simple, it was a competition of acting skills. To prevent cheating, the acting scenes were randomly selected. Wan Lin was surprisingly calm under the live broadcast. She knew that Wang Hao would definitely help her if he said he would, so she only had to treat the competition seriously. The first scene that was randomly selected was a crying scene. It was more difficult, but it was also the scene that could easily move the audience. It was about the princess of Yutang's father who had died on the battlefield. After retrieving her father's body from the battlefield, the princess cried and swore at the same time. There were only 2 lines, so it was difficult to act it well. However, Wan Lin quickly got into the mood. Although her title of Best Actress was not earned, she was capable as well. After a while, Wan Lin, who had gotten into the mood, knelt on the ground and cried to the air beautifully. Father, go in peace. As long as I'm here, the country will not fall into chaos. Her voice was strong, portraying the role of a strong and weak woman to the fullest. She wiped away her tears and spoke resolutely. As long as I'm here, Yutang will not fall into chaos. Great Chi is not finished. We have not lost. The short 3-minute performance had different expressions on everyone's faces. How should they put it? Wan Lin acted well and got into the role quickly. However, the Princess of Yutang was a decisive person. Although the 2 lines were spoken with conviction, there was still something missing. It gave people the feeling that they were playing house, completely unable to experience the struggles of the chaotic world and the righteousness of the country. Gong Coco watched from the side, thinking of her mother for some reason. The elders in the palace would always talk about what her mother had done. Her mother had made similar vows before. She had said that as long as she was here, the Yu state would not fall into chaos. She had indeed done it. Not only had she brought stability to Dai Yu state, she had also brought stability to the entire continent. Such courage, such tactics. She was fully deserving of being the eldest princess. The deterrence, the righteousness of taking the world as her responsibility, the power that erupted from absolute confidence. It was not something that someone like Wan Lin could act out. At this moment, Jiang Shanke tugged at Gong Coco. It was her turn. Because it was a live broadcast, Wan Lin acted while the netizens discussed it. Most of the comments were quite pertinent and felt that she was doing a good job. Then, it was Gong Coco's turn. Gong Coco closed her eyes. She admired her mother so much and understood her so well. Right now, she wanted to act as her mother, not Yutang's princess. If her mother were to encounter something like Yutang's princess, what would she say? What would she do? Therefore, when she opened her eyes again, Gong Coco's temperament suddenly changed. That pair of lively cat eyes melted into a trace of vastness, as if they contained the greatest tolerance in the world. But when she looked to her side, her eyes instantly turned red. It was as if there was a corpse there, and it was her most respected father. Gong Coco knelt down on one knee. Her back was ramrod straight. She believed that no matter how heavy the burden was, it would not be able to crush her. However, her body was trembling slightly. Her thin lips were pursed tightly, as if she was enduring great pain. She was crying, but her tears did not fall. However, everyone could feel that she was crying. This forbearance was heavier than any heart-wrenching pain. She knelt beside the emperor's bed. Not only was she a princess, but she was also a warrior who protected the country. After staring at the corpse for a moment, Gong Coco raised her hand stiffly and held a hand in the air as she spoke softly. "Father. Rest in peace. As long as I'm here, the country will not be in chaos." Her tone was calm, completely different from Wan Lin's determination and hysteria, but no one dared to ignore the weight of each word. Gong Coco's teary eyes were red, but they shone faintly under the camera lens, allowing people to easily peek into her resolute heart. "As long as I'm here, Daki is not finished. We haven't lost." When she finished her words, the surroundings were still silent, as if they had sunk into the chaotic world and deeply felt the responsibility and helplessness. Such charisma was not something an ordinary actor could possess. Initially, it was difficult to determine who was better in terms of acting skills, but now, the difference was too great. Their capabilities could be seen clearly. After the crowd erupted, the internet exploded as well. Many fans of the original novel spoke directly. "She's the princess of Yutang in my heart. If Gong Coco doesn't act as Yutang's princess, then I won't watch this drama. Amazing. I'm moved to tears in just 2 to 3 minutes. She's Yutang. She's Yutang who has transmigrated." Even the author, the princess, posted on Weibo. "No one can portray the aura of Yutang's princess better than Gong Coco. I've decided to be her fan." The people at the scene did not know how the internet reacted, but Wan Lin knew that she had lost the first round. She had lost miserably. The director did not want to participate in this drama, but after watching Gong Coco's performance, he was actually looking forward to this live broadcast. He had a feeling that his drama would be a hit. Wang Hao was also stunned when he saw Gong Coco's appearance after removing her makeup. In addition to her superb acting, Wan Lin, whom he had previously worshipped like a goddess, was like a maid by the princess's side in comparison. However, he still agreed to help Wan Lin. Although he was enlightened now, he had already spent 300 million on this woman. It would be a loss if he did not sleep with her. One round of competition is nothing. The second time, let's compete in long takes. Jiang Shanke ignored Wang Hao, the clown. He only looked at Gong Coco. This was his baby. No matter what she looked like, she was stunning. He handed a glass of water to Gong Kiki and carefully helped her wipe her face. He snatched the assistant's job and acted as if he had practiced this thousands of times. Not only did he ruthlessly torture the people present, but he also ruthlessly tortured the people on the internet. Jiang Shanke's popularity was very high. The official website was almost overcrowded. Those women originally wanted to pick a fight with Gong Kiki, but now they were a little convinced. Especially when they saw the two of them standing together, looking like they couldn't fit in at all, they couldn't help but feel envious. Originally, I did not like Gong Coco. But after seeing her performance just now, I am suddenly looking forward to this drama. I think Gong Coco's biggest victory is not defeating Black Xinlian, but having a good man like Jiang Shanke who will never leave her. He is young and rich, and he can tolerate being handsome and infatuated. He is also so fucking gentle and meticulous. Look at how he wiped Gong Coco's face just now. He was so familiar with it. One look and you can tell that he often does it. Ah! I can't think about it anymore. I am so jealous that I have changed shape. A woman who can be treated so infatuatedly by President Jiang is definitely not a vase. This afternoon, I bet Gong Coco will win. You're tuning in to the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.